Okay, hello. Episode 1 of GUA Punya Suka. I'm Bunny and I'm just giving an accompanying commentary for the pilot episode of this series. I'm pedaling off from Jalan Tenteram. It's one of the more common routes that I take, especially if I'm either heading towards City Hall, but Esplanade just kind of happens to be a pretty usual spot that I get towards. I really like this stretch. Actually, it's kind of nice to just sprint through. I think if you're on Strava, there's a segment here that you can complete. Probably a couple of segments that you can complete here. So one thing that I want to point out in some of these videos is that you may not see me necessarily sticking to the leftmost part of the road, and that's also because you can see that sometimes there are these drainages and also general potholes, cracks, gaps that can actually cause pretty bad accident if you kind of get yourself stuck into it. I think recently or somewhere last year there was an incident with a cyclist that kind of got trapped in one of the drainages and actually suffered a really terrible accident. One thing that I do want to highlight is that sometimes the leftmost part isn't exactly the safest part of the road. So you'll see that kind of happening, that I kind of steer off from the leftmost and kind of occupying somewhere a little bit more like in the middle of the lane on some level. But I mean, that's all to say that I hope motorists realize this as well, because most of the time some of these areas on the roads, they're not very friendly to bicycle wheels and tires, regardless of how slim or wide they are. Sometimes there are really bad cracks, and you eventually see them on some of the sides of the streets on this particular clip. Signaling is important. In this instance, I wasn't exactly changing lanes, but because it's a left turning lane, I want to signal that I'm not actually going to be turning left. If I do that, I'll end up in the expressway, so I'm actually keeping a little bit to the right part of the street simply because I'm moving straight. So if there's a vehicle that's looking to turn left, they know that they could eventually feel free to do so and not worry about me. So this part of the street, further up ahead, there's actually an area where there's a bit of construction going on. So the roads are actually extremely shaky. I'll point it out to you in just a bit. It'll come out. Usually when I cycle through this area, I kind of avoid that area completely. This guy just comes out. Okay, so the construction area that I was talking about happens just after this yellow box. So I usually avoid this area and come to this lane immediately. See this whole patch over there, it's really, really bad. So I usually skip that area and automatically come to this side of the lane. And the reason for that also is because I'm actually going straight. I do from time to time get motorists honking at me, kind of like signaling, why are you even on this side of the lane? My man, if I am actually going straight, I can't be keeping to the left side of the street. So, but today was a good day. Like, we didn't have any of those issues. Yeah, skipping ahead, big junction. Similar on this side of the street as well, on the leftmost here. One of the things that you might want to look out for are cars that sort of like sometimes they don't signal, they just want to turn left into the estate over here. The roads over here on the left side are also a little bit sketchy as well. You can see at this point in time I'm just sort of like sticking to this side just to get a closer view. Look at that. Oh my god. signaling to come into this side of the lane, simply because I am actually going straight. The lane on the left actually only allows you to turn left, so here we are. Merging lane. This part is always good to make sure that your left is clear. Oh, this guy comes out of nowhere. This side of the street also a lot of cracks and gaps. Need to be really careful with that one. Where the intersection to the right is the ICA building. In many ways, I guess this is probably the one good route that you can take to get towards North Bridge Road or towards the Esplanade. It's pretty flat actually to go through here. There's a bit of a descent coming up and a bit of a climb, which is pretty nice. At some point I might do a video trying to enter North Bridge Road, or even entering towards this area over here towards Golden Mile. These kinds of changing lanes can be a little bit tricky, and it's something that I do want to document in terms of kind of showing etiquette, and hopefully we get a good demonstration from motorists as well. Might be possible to do ASMR as I do this commentary, but I think that's too much. This part of this area, the roads here are really nice. It's pretty smooth. Up ahead, again, usually when there's like a fair amount of construction work or construction site involved, the roads tend to get a little bit more sketchier. Sometimes they get sort of plastered over pretty quick, and you don't really have to worry about it. I think this one, some of it is probably already fixed, but for the rest of it, there are some parts which can be a bit sketchy. But it's a really nice stretch. Yeah, that one's already patched up. That was really bad before. Watch out for those. The entry site, the entrances to all these construction sites, you just have to be a lot more careful on the side of the road. So there's a lot of gaps sometimes. Yeah, so there are other ways to kind of get to Esplanade. This is one way if you're taking the road. If you're choosing to take the park connector, is the one on the left, just as we got uphill. Just as you get uphill, if you actually take the park connector, it's a nice, kind of like a very cobbly stone trail that gets you straight to the Esplanade as well. Nice, more better view, I guess. This whole stretch is really nice to just cycle through. This was also taken on a weekday, so traffic is a lot, less. It's not as busy, and it's also off peak, so it's kind of nice to cycle through. So depending on the time that you're commuting, that's also a factor to think about as well, because running the orange. So here we're already entering the floating stage by the marina. And we have Marina Square on the right hand side. This bus lane as well, the road is a little bit sketchy as well. There's quite a lot of gaps and cracks over there, so please be careful when you're on the bus lane. But after that point, it's very nice, really good tarmac. And we're here. Setting off. It's really nice when the streets are quiet. So here I take a bit of a pause because I need to cut through. I'm not taking the left. I'm not taking a left turn, neither am I going straight. I'm actually going to turn right. So I, make sure that the roads are a bit cleared, or at least a vehicle is not close to me, like that blue car, before I set off. And again, I will be taking right over here. I'm turning right. So there's no way I want to be all the way on the far left side of the street, or neither do I want to weave my way through. So it's just nice to be coming from the back. So once we take right, City Hall is on the left, and we have Suntec and Marina Square on the right. Just realized it's actually spelled Nicole Hui. Nicole Hui. So we're going down Nickel Highway. Well, we won't be taking Nickel Highway specifically. Here you also got to be careful because there are a few exit points for vehicles to come out, like that red taxi that's just about to come out. Sometimes they just sort of like dash out, so you want to be careful when kind of like going through this part area. I really like this stretch of road. I mean, aside from the fact that tarmac is really smooth and buttery, it's just nice and flat as well, so you can just sort of like mash your way through. Just be careful of vehicles coming by, because more often than not, it's just a lot of quick moving vehicles in this area. I have the option of actually just going all the way straight and kind of like returning back from where I just came from. But I'm feeling a little bit lazy and I don't want to climb through because it's a bit of a climb. It's not that bad. It's, in fact, not even a climb. It's just a slight uphill. But yeah, I didn't feel like doing that today, so I took a left instead. A slightly different path with a lot more traffic lights, but yeah, it's more flat land. It's more just flat roads as opposed to that little climb that comes up ahead. Again, it's not really a climb. It's actually just a slight uphill. Might get crucified by the cycling community for using climbing so generously. Same here, we're turning right, so we need to be on this side of the lane. These junctions usually make me a little bit nervous because sometimes, cars might be a bit more eager to just keep moving if the coast is clear. So one way around it is that you could, not be at the front. You could sort of be behind a vehicle just to play it safer in terms of how you manage that space. The only reason I usually sort of like end up ahead is simply because if there's a window of opportunity that I can just sort of like sprint through, I usually would. I just don't want to get in a situation where motorists become impatient, that's all. I mean, these kind of things can be upsetting, I guess, on some level. Not drastically, just like, I'm sure you can be a bit more patient. Similarly, taking right, so on this side of the street. Hotel Boss. It's a really big hotel. I can't remember what it was before, but yeah, I don't think it was a hotel before. It was something else. I just cannot remember what it was. But yeah, no, it's just this huge thing of just hotel rooms. Always look behind before you make these lane switches. And I think also as good practice, it's just good to signal, when you encounter these junctions, when there's a car or something that's about to, make that left turn. Just to signal, I think it's just a friendly way to signal that, I'm heading towards you, I'm not turning, I'm actually going straight. I think small gestures like these are actually really helpful in the way that we communicate with one another on the streets. Alright, we're back along Lavender. from the other side of the road earlier on. This part also, it's really patchy, very spotty road in general. Lots of patches. Cycle safe here. Singapore Cascade. This is another part of the road because when we're going to be turning right into Serangoon Road later on, from Lavender to Serangoon. This part is a little bit daunting, so what I usually do is I kind of go towards the halfway point here first, just so that I get a bit of a heads up. I mean, a bit of a lead, and then take right, because sometimes when you're traveling on alongside all the other cars and whatnot, they'll be going really fast and you might not have the opportunity to kind of like switch lanes. Not all motorists are as patient as others. This traffic light takes a while. And then all the way down Serangoon Road. I remember at this point I was looking up and the clouds were starting to get really dark, and I don't like cycling in the rain in general. One of which is because I'm on rim brakes. They're not really good when it rains. And yeah, the other is I don't have. I only have one good pair of shoes that I use for cycling, and if that gets wet, then I don't have anything else to wear. So there are some really sketchy spots on the road over here, so you want to be careful if you're traveling on the leftmost side. So now we're in Boon King. It's Boon King MRT. The next turn is St. George's Road. Here we turn in. And that's it. This is St. George's. And the only reason I take this route is because I didn't want to make a big turn around. I usually don't, make that big turn from Balestier and then into into Jalan Tenteram within the Wampo area. This just feels a lot more convenient. You go in through St. George's, make a right, you're into St. Michael's, and then you're back in Jalan Tenteram. So it's kind of like going in from the back. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Till the next episode.